This is John Daly in the radio newsroom of the United States Senate, just across the hall from the galleries of the Senate chamber itself. In less than half an hour on this historic and eventful morning of the 16th of May, 1868, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, may be removed from office, convicted of high crimes and misdemeanors. In less than 30 minutes, the people of the United States may have a new president, the Honorable Benjamin Wade, Senator from Ohio and President of the United States Senate. The hour of decision is at hand. At the stroke of noon, Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase will mount the rostrum, reconvene the Senate as a court of impeachment, and each senator in turn will cast his vote.
May 16, 1868, Washington, D.C. You are there.
Washington. Andrew Johnson, the President of the United States, is impeached. The Senate is preparing to vote for acquittal or conviction. The fate of Andrew Johnson, Chief Magistrate of the world's greatest democracy, is at stake. CBS takes you back to witness the closing minutes of the trial of Andrew Johnson for high crimes and misdemeanors. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there,
you are there.
You Are There is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
the radio newsroom of the United States Senate and John Daly.
The drama of the 19th century is about to enter a new stage. The drama that began with the surrender of Lee at Appomattox, that was heightened by the bullet that ended the life of President Lincoln. And this drama reached its climax when Congress, determined to avenge the devastation and slaughter of the war, turned its anger on President Johnson for advocating Lincoln's policy of a charitable peace based upon his well-remembered words, with malice towards none. Now the final day of this trial without precedent has come, and the voting will begin in a matter of moments. Rumors are flying thick and fast throughout the Capitol. Quincy Howe has spent this busy day circulating among the senators, who, sitting as a jury in accordance with the Constitution, will soon pass judgment on President Andrew Johnson. He has just returned to the newsroom. Quincy, what's the feeling downstairs? Will the president be acquitted or convicted, and how will the balloting go?
Right up to this last moment, John, the radical Republican leaders have never doubted they could command the two-thirds vote of the Senate required for conviction. These radical Republicans belong to the extreme wing of their party, as you know. And they're called radical because they want to impose a hard peace on the defeated southern states. But now that the hour of decision draws near, the outcome has suddenly become doubtful. The radical Republicans can count on 35 votes. They need 36, or just one vote more. 7 Republican senators have either announced that they'll vote for acquittal or they've just said nothing. Senators Trumbull, Fessenden, Van Winkle, and Fowler definitely favor acquittal. So does Senator Grimes of Iowa. But Grimes is so ill that he probably won't be able to take his seat this afternoon. The 2 other doubtful senators, the men who hold the fate of President Andrew Johnson in their hands, are Senator Henderson of Missouri and Senator Ross of Kansas. The radical Republicans must get one of those 2 wavering votes in order to oust Johnson and put through their plan to subjugate the South. Neither Henderson nor Ross is on the floor of the Senate chamber right now. I understand they're both in the corridor outside the Senate lounge downstairs. Ken Roberts is down there, too. He's been trying to get them to the microphone, so come in, Ken Roberts.
It's absolutely impossible to get near Senators Henderson and Ross right now. They're both surrounded by radical Republican leaders who are alternately begging, pleading, arguing, threatening, cajoling. Perhaps later we can get Henderson or Ross to our microphone, but right now we have Congressman Thaddeus Stevens of Pennsylvania, the man who, above all others, has been behind this move to impeach President Johnson. Congressman Stevens is convalescing from a recent illness, and 2 guards are carrying him in a chair. Mr. Stevens, will the president be convicted?
What president?
President Johnson, of course.
Oh, you mean the man who is now performing the function of president? Of course he'll be convicted. He entered upon that office through the foul door of assassination, and he'll leave it by the back stairs of shame.
And if the Senate convicts President Johnson, Senator Wade takes his place...
I assure you that'll happen.
Well, if it does, would you still insist that only Congress can reconstruct the southern states, or will you allow the new president to set the policy of reconstruction?
We'll dig that hole when we get a new shovel. As to the southern states, I recognize no such thing as a southern state.
I resent that, sir.
The territories to the south forfeited their right to statehood when they voted themselves out of the Union.
But, Mr. Stevens, according to the late President Lincoln, the war was fought to prevent the southern states from leaving the Union.
The late President Lincoln, to the contrary, the war was not fought to keep the Union. It was fought to rid this nation of a southern aristocracy that fed and bloated itself on the vile institution of human slavery.
But slavery has been abolished, Congressman Stevens, and the southern states are asking to be brought back into the Union.
They can be brought back, and in time they will. But only when they come back as prodigals, aware of the enormity of their crimes. Only after they have earned the price of admission.
What is that price of admission, Congressman?
Complete equality for the Negro, including the right to vote. Elimination from public office of all who took arms against our country during the war. Full and unquestioning acceptance by the South of the great principles of the Republican Party.
Meaning that they must vote the Republican ticket?
Meaning they must vote the Republican ticket.
Congressman Stevens, President Johnson's supporters claim that not one scrap of evidence has been presented during the trial that warrants conviction for high crimes and misdemeanors.
That's what they say.
Well, do you have anything new to say in answer to that?
We don't need criminal evidence to warrant conviction. This isn't a criminal proceeding. This is a political action. I repeat, a political action. What we need, we have indisputable evidence of President Johnson's political malefection. Andrew Johnson has brought the high office of President of the United States into contempt, ridicule, and disgrace. That's all. Lift me up. Take me to the Senate.
Thank you, Congressman Thaddeus Stevens. The majority leader of the House is being lifted now into his chair and carried into the Senate chamber. Now, here is Senator Benjamin Wade of Ohio, the man who in a matter of moments may be the President of the United States. Senator Wade, how do you think the vote will come out? Will President Johnson be convicted?
For the good of the country, I pray so.
Senator, if conviction is obtained, what will be the policy of your administration towards the defeated southern states?
Well, my administration shall be dedicated to the greater glory of our loyal citizenry and to the elimination, the crushing, the smashing of every last vestige of secession and rebellion that dares to show itself in the conquered lands across the Potomac.
Would you vote on the article of impeachment, Senator? You know, of course, that some people feel that because you are in line for the presidency, your vote should be withheld.
I feel that I would be laggard in my duty to the people of Ohio if I failed to register their abhorrence of tyranny by forfeiting my own vote on the basis of personal involvement. Of course I shall vote. I shall vote against despotism until the last moment of the last hour of my life.
Senator Wade, there's been some talk that the president's supporters might ask for an adjournment at this time due to the serious illness of Senator Grimes. What do you think of that possibility, sir?
If God Almighty has stricken a member of this body so that he cannot be here to uphold the dictation of a despot, I thank him for it. And I will take every advantage of it that I can.
Well said, then. Well said.
Thank you, Senator Wade of Ohio.
Get to Henderson.
I still can't get to Senators Ross and Henderson. I'll keep trying to get them to our microphone, but it can't be done right now. Don Hollenbeck at the other end of the corridor has Senator Reverdy Johnson of Maryland at his microphone. So over to Don Hollenbeck.
Senator, please, this side. Thank you. Senator Reverdy Johnson is one of the president's staunchest supporters in the Senate. Senator Johnson, how do you think the vote is going to go today? Will President Andrew Johnson be acquitted?
If justice survives, he will be exonerated. He must be. He's guiltless.
In your opinion, then, the charges against the president have not been proved?
Why, of course not. The impeachment articles sent up by the House of Representatives are built upon an alleged refusal of the president to enforce a law.
You refer, of course, to the Tenure of Office Act?
Yes, sir, I do. This act was passed to prevent the president from removing from office any federal officer who was in sympathy with the radical Republicans in Congress.
Well, in your opinion, Senator Johnson, didn't the president defy the law when he removed the Secretary of War from his cabinet, Mr. Stanton?
Oh, no, sir, no. This was not a defiance by the president. He was merely attempting to test the constitutionality of the Tenure of Office Act in the courts. And in so doing, he deliberately walked into the trap set for him by his political enemies. He knew that this was precisely what the radical Republicans were waiting for. He knew that those wolves were drooling, the hyenas howling. But Andy Johnson was never the man to draw back from a fight. No, sir. Not Andy Johnson.
Senator, if President Lincoln were alive today, do you think the radical Republicans would have dared impeach him?
Why, certainly. This would have happened to Lincoln as it's now happening to Andrew Johnson. It's inevitable. Any man who stands for mercy and charity to the South, is the marked enemy of the radical Republicans. And I thank God that Abraham Lincoln was spared this ignominy by the bullet of John Wilkes Booth.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. I've just been informed that Senator Grimes of Iowa, the senator who was so ill he wasn't expected to be present today, has arrived at the Senate entrance to the Capitol, so over to Ned Calmer.
I'm standing just inside the Senate entrance. Senator Grimes' carriage has just drawn up outside the door. The Capitol Guards had to clear a way for it through the pressing, excited crowds, and now the guards have lifted the senator's stretcher out of the carriage. It's the senator's doctor is by his side, cautioning the guards. Mrs. Grimes, the senator's wife, is still inside the carriage. The senator's stretcher is being brought through the entrance door now. The senator's face is quite ashen white. His eyes are closed. He's breathing in labor. He hardly looks alive. It seems impossible that this man will be able to vote. Yet here he comes. There's a doctor walking beside him. Doctor, I beg your pardon, sir.
No.
This is CBS. If your patient can spare you for just a moment, may we ask you a question?
No. I'm sorry. I've got my hands full. I'm sorry.
The doctor has gone past me, following the stretcher. Mrs. Grimes is just coming through the door now, her hands full of pillows. I'll try to... Mrs. Grimes, if you could stop just a minute. This is CBS. Could you tell us, Mrs. Grimes, is the senator any better?
My husband is very ill. He's been brought here against the advice of his physician, but he insisted. He feels that he must be here even if it means his life.
Do you think he'll be able to vote?
If his heart is as strong as his will, he will vote. Oh, I'm so sorry. I must go with him.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimes. The senator's wife is going up to the caucus room now, and she... Wait a minute. I understand that Ken Roberts has at last been able to get Senator Henderson to the microphone. So over to Ken Roberts.
Senator Henderson is standing beside me. Senator Henderson, have you made up your mind as to your vote? Will it be for conviction or acquittal?
For the past 2 weeks, my life has been unbearable. I have been spied on, followed, hounded almost to death. I am a Republican.
Yes, but Senator...
My desk is piled high with telegrams, most of them calling for my vote for conviction. But I shall not be swayed by threats or bribes.
But your vote, Senator, how will you
I
vote?
have in my hand a telegram. It is from my state, Missouri, from St. Louis. I will read it to you. There is intense excitement here. Meeting call for tomorrow night. Can your friends hope that you will vote for conviction? If so, all will be well. Signed, E.W. Fox.
Senator...
I have already wired Mr. Fox my reply. Here it is. Say to my friends that I am sworn to do impartial justice according to law and evidence. And I will try to do it like an honest man.
Does that mean, Senator Henderson, that you have decided...
It means that I shall follow my conscience and not my party. I shall vote for acquittal.
Senator Henderson will vote for acquittal. Senator Henderson will vote not guilty. Back to the radio newsroom.
This is Quincy Howe. Henderson for acquittal. Ross still uncertain. Grimes here, but so ill that he may not have the strength to register his vote of not guilty. If Senator Grimes fails to answer his name when the vote is called, the radical Republicans will have achieved their purpose, the conviction and removal of Andrew Johnson as President of the United States and the elevation of Benjamin Wade to that... there's the bell. The Senate is reconvening, so over to John Daly at the doors of the Senate gallery.
Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase has taken his place on the rostrum, tapped his gavel now for order. Every seat but one in the Senate chamber is filled. That one, Senator Grimes' chair is empty, still empty, a little stirring in the seats, but the Chief Justice is demanding and has gotten order.
We'll make proclamation. Hear ye, hear ye. All persons are commanded to keep silence on bail of imprisonment while the Senate of the United States is sitting for the trial of the articles of impeachment against Andrew Johnson, President of the United States.
The Senate is now going through the preliminary routine incident to its convening as a court of impeachment. The curtain is going up on one of the great dramas of our time. For the first time in our history, a President of the United States stands impeached, waiting for the historic verdict of the Senate. The stage is set, and in a moment, the preliminaries will be over. The business of the court will then be ready to begin.
There is no objection. I will so order. Mr. Chief Justice.
Senator Williams of Oregon is calling for the floor.
I move that the Chief Justice in directing the Secretary to read the several articles of impeachment, shall direct him to read the 11th article first. The President shall then be taken on that article, and thereafter the other 10 successively as they stand.
The Radical Republicans have moved to consider the 11th article of impeachment first. Quincy Howe is here with me. Quincy, what do you think is behind this last-minute maneuver?
It looks like bad news for President Johnson. You see, the 11th article, the so-called Stevens article, contains no specific accusations. It's a generalized article. Among other things, it accuses the president of having, in some public speech or other, denied the right of Congress to interfere in the internal affairs of the southern states. Now, this 11th article is known as the catch-all article. If the radical Republicans can snare a majority of senators into approving this 11th article, then the Johnson conviction seems almost certain.
And now a vote is being taken.
Those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by no. No. The ayes in the majority, it is so ordered.
The president's enemies have won another round as the Senate adopts the order. Senator Edmonds of Vermont.
Gentlemen from Vermont, I move that the Senate now proceed to vote upon the articles according to the order of the Senate just adopted.
And Senator Edmonds has just moved that the Senate proceed to vote immediately on the 11th article. Senator Fessenden of Maine.
Gentlemen from Maine, before the motion is made, I move that voting be postponed for half an hour. I make this motion. The gentleman from Iowa, Mr. Grimes, is not in the chamber. I saw the gentleman last night, and he told me that he should certainly be here this morning. It was his intention. The honorable member permit me to interrupt him for a moment.
Johnson of Maryland.
He's here. I have said for him. He's on his way. He will be in the chamber in a moment. He's here.
Grimes is in the Senate chamber. Senator Grimes is here. One of the rare victories for President Johnson, for his vote will surely be for acquittal. Two of the Capitol Guards are carrying him to his seat on a stretcher. He seems to be unconscious. I don't see how Senator Grimes can vote. It looks impossible. Now back to the Chief Justice.
The question is now the motion submitted by the senator from Vermont. The motion will be read. That the Senate now proceed to vote upon the articles according to the rules of the Senate. Is that an objection? It is so ordered. Before we proceed to the vote, by direction of the Senate, the Chief Justice admonishes the citizens and strangers in the galleries that absolute silence and perfect order are required. It will be a matter of unfeigned regret if any violation of the order of the Senate should necessitate the execution of its further order that the persons guilty of disturbance be immediately arrested. Senators, in conformity with the order of the Senate, the Chair will now proceed to take the vote on the 11th article as directed by rule. The Secretary will read the 11th article.
Article 11, that said Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, unmindful of the high duties of his office and of his oath of office, and in disregard of the Constitution and laws of the United States, did heretofore do it on the 18th day of August.
The clerk continues to read the familiar 11th article of impeachment, accusing the president of high crimes and misdemeanors. The crucial decision will come soon, and the scene below is one of somber tension. The senators listen to the monotonous voice of the clerk as it drones on. The face of Senator Ross of Kansas is impassive, not a muscle moves. He just sits in his chair, staring forward, eyes unblinking, almost with the look of a man in an hypnotic state. What his thoughts may be, how his vote will be cast, is still the big question. The presidency of the United States may rest upon the vote that will be cast by this small, unassuming man from Kansas. Around the chamber are the other actors in this great drama. Sitting at the manager's table is Thaddeus Stevens, the congressman from Pennsylvania, majority leader of the House, and perhaps the bitterest enemy of President Johnson in this chamber today. No one will argue his claim to the title of Father of Impeachment. Across the chamber from Stevens, in the front row, is Charles Sumner, the senator from Massachusetts and the most powerful of the Senate radical Republicans. Behind Sumner, a few seats to his right, is Benjamin Wade, the senator from Ohio, the man who, within a matter of minutes, may become President of the United States. Wade is nervously twirling a gold penknife from his watch chain, and he, too, is watching Ross. Well, he's still expressionless, still motionless. He's still a sphinx, an imponderable and unknown. And now the clerk is just about to finish reading the 11th article. This is the hour, and remember, 36 votes will convict, 19 votes will acquit.
Whereby the said Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, did then, to wit, on the 21st day of February, A.D. 1868, at the city of Washington, commit and was guilty of a high crime and misdemeanor in office.
The Secretary will call the roll.
Mr. Anthony
Mr. Senator Anthony, how say you? Is the respondent, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, guilty or not guilty of a high misdemeanor as charged in this article?
Guilty. Fired. Not guilty. Buckley. Not guilty. Cameron. Guilty. Cattell. Guilty. Chandler. Guilty. Cole. Guilty.
The voting is as expected, no surprises yet.
Conklin. Guilty. Finesse. Guilty. Corbett. Guilty. Reagan. Guilty. Davis. Not guilty. Dixon. Not guilty. Doolittle. Not guilty.
9 guilty, 5 not guilty.
Drake. Guilty. Edmonds. Guilty. Perry. Guilty. Fessenden. Not guilty. Fowler. Guilty.
Senator Fowler has voted guilty. This is a completely surprising thing. It's unexpected. His vote seems sure for acquittal.
How say you? Repeat your vote.
Not guilty.
Oh, it was a misunderstanding. Senator Fowler did not speak distinctly. His vote is not guilty. He is for acquittal, and the roll call now continues.
Guilty.
Senator Grimes is next. Here's one of the crucial votes that makes up the scales.
The senator need not rise if he is unable.
Chief Justice Chase has given Senator Grimes permission to vote from his seat, but Grimes is getting up. He is struggling to his feet, refuses to vote seated. He's up now, standing, holding onto his desk for support.
Not guilty.
And the gallery, both those for the president and those against him, are saluting the courage, the bravery of Senator Grimes. It must have been a superhuman effort. He drew himself up to his full height, stood erect and proud a moment, and then almost defiantly, he delivered his vote for acquittal. The vote is now 13 for conviction, 8 for acquittal, 36 are needed for conviction, 19 for acquittal, and now it's certain that the decisive vote will be that of Senator Ross of Kansas.
The Secretary will proceed. Harlan. Guilty. Henderson. Guilty.
As he announced he would, Senator Henderson has defied his party and voted for acquittal.
Hendricks. Not guilty. Howard. Guilty. Howe. Guilty. Johnson. Not guilty. McCreary. Not guilty. Morgan. Guilty. Morrill of Maine. Guilty.
The vote now is 18 guilty, 12 not guilty, 36 needed for conviction, 19 for acquittal. Senator Ross will cast the deciding vote.
Morton. Guilty. Norton. Not guilty. Nye. Guilty. Patterson of New Hampshire. Guilty. Patterson of Tennessee. Not guilty. Pomeroy. Guilty. Ramsey. Guilty. Ross.
This is it. This is the deciding vote.
Ross. Not guilty.
Ross has voted not guilty. Ross has voted for acquittal. President Johnson is acquitted, for the vote on the first 10 articles will now be a mere formality. The impeachment failed, and the president is saved. The radical Republicans have lost. The man who followed Lincoln is still able to fight for Lincoln's dreams and policies. Andrew Johnson is exonerated, and the policies of Abraham Lincoln are...
May 16, 1868. President Andrew Johnson is acquitted, and the first and only impeachment of a President of the United States fails.
This is Don Hollenbeck for CBS News in Washington. It will soon be dawn this morning of March 9th, 1862, off the Atlantic coast at Hampton Roads, Virginia, 150 miles southeast of the capital. The next few moments will see the return of daylight to that pivotal point in the North's naval blockade of the South, and according to all experienced federal observers here in Washington, the coming moments may also see the return to Hampton Roads of the Confederate ironclad Merrimac. If the Merrimac can break out into the open sea round Old Point at the southernmost tip of Maryland, proceed northward to attack the northern ports on the Atlantic seaboard, the most
March 9,
have been struck.
1862, Washington, D.C. You are there.
Washington, on the dawn of the day that will see the decisive naval battle between the North and the South, between the Federals and the Confederates. CBS takes you back 86 years to the surprise engagement that ushered in a new era of sea warfare. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there,
you are there.
You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
CBS News in Washington and Don Hollenbeck.
So heavy with foreboding and impending calamity. Here in Washington, there are grim faces at the White House, tight-lipped comment from officers at the Northern Department of the Navy. When reports first reached the Navy Department stating that the Merrimac was venturing forth out of Norfolk to challenge the Federal fleet, there were expressions of amusement and cynicism. Northern Navy officers laughingly imagined the ironclad as a humpbacked turtle grotesquely waddling her ineffective way through the rough waters. But then the Merrimac struck. Within a matter of hours, the northern sloop Cumberland was rammed and sunk,
The 50-gun sailing frigate Congress was abandoned and on fire, and the 40-gun steam auxiliary frigate Minnesota was aground and helpless. At twilight, the Confederate ironclad retired toward Norfolk, leaving behind the question, what can be done to prevent the Merrimac from returning and destroying the entire Northern fleet? That's the situation as we see it here in Washington this morning. However, CBS correspondent John Daly is now at Hampton Roads aboard the frigate Roanoke, the flagship of the Northern Naval Squadron. So for a report from the actual scene of the expected naval battle, we switch you to John Daly aboard the Roanoke.
The Merrimac has not been sighted as yet, and here aboard the Roanoke, daylight is beginning to streak the eastern sky, but the sea is still shrouded in a heavy, swirling mist. Somewhere out in that mist, about a mile to my right on the riprap, Federal tugs are desperately trying to release the battered Minnesota from the shoals on which she grounded yesterday. Perhaps you can hear the tug whistles in the distance. Also to my right, hidden by the mists and the angry water of the roads, lie the hulks of the Federal warships Congress and Cumberland, both of them sunk in yesterday's action. Right now, here on the Roanoke, every man-jack is searching the curtain of mist that hangs over the sea, waiting and watching for the first sight of the Confederacy's juggernaut of destruction. The air is tense. The men seem calm and determined. There's no false optimism. The nearness of new fighting has produced a solemn, a quiet, well, almost a prayerful attitude among the officers and the crew. With me at our CBS microphone is Commander Prescott Singleton, one of the senior officers of the Roanoke. Commander Singleton, do you think that the Merrimac is on her way to attack the fleet again, sir?
Foregone conclusion.
Well, what did you think of yesterday's engagement?
Well fought, I should say. Well fought indeed.
Well, do you happen to know who is in command of the Merrimac, sir?
Yes. Captain is Franklin Buchanan. I'm told he holds the rank of Commodore in the Southern Navy.
Oh.
A good man. Knew him before the war. Knew him well. Shipped together, the two of us.
I see, sir.
I'm rather disappointed in him, I might say. Disappointed.
In what way, sir?
Well, it's difficult to put into words, but in the Navy we have traditions. Very high and proud traditions, I might say. I just cannot conceive of a good Navy man skulking behind iron plates.
But don't you consider the Merrimac to be a very ingenious ship of war, sir?
Well, yes, but it's not the way to fight upon the sea. It's unethical.
Well, might I ask what you would think if you were given command of an ironclad?
I'd resign my commission first.
Well, then you feel, Commander Singleton, that the Merrimac is not a legitimate weapon of naval warfare?
Absolutely not. The introduction of new and novel methods of warfare I must treat with repugnance. Men have been fighting on the high seas for centuries, according to certain basic laws of strategy. Nelson, John Paul Jones, Drake. In short, the sea is no place for experimentation.
But, sir, can anything prevent the Merrimac from further ravaging the Northern fleet?
We will stand against her. We will fight her bravely and gallantly. Count on that. Our hopes, sir, shall rest upon the good Lord, good marksmanship, and good, solid New England oak.
Thank you, Commander Singleton. The mist is still very heavy hanging over the water here, and there's still no sign of the Merrimac. So this is John Daly aboard the Roanoke, now back to CBS Washington.
This is Don Hollenbeck. A moment ago, you heard Commander Singleton, one of the senior officers aboard the northern flagship Roanoke, say that he knew the name of the Confederate captain of the Merrimac, and that raises an interesting question. How much advance information did the Northern Department of the Navy have on the Merrimac? Quincy Howe has just come from the Department of the Navy, where he talked with Northern officers. Quincy, was the North aware of the fact that the South was building an ironclad?
Yes, Don, they were. The Navy Department in Washington, through various secret agents, has known all along that the Merrimac, the South now calls her the Virginia, was being rebuilt as an ironclad.
You say rebuilt. The Merrimac, then, isn't an original construction.
No, it seems not, Don. The Merrimac was a wooden ship in the American Navy undergoing repairs at Norfolk Harbor when the fighting began. Because the Federal forces couldn't tow her off anywhere to safety, they scuttled her before they evacuated the city of Roanoke. Then Southern engineers came along, raised up the burnt-out hulk, and converted what used to be a graceful frigate into this present ugly, iron-coated monster of destruction.
Well, then the North knew about the Merrimac in advance and didn't do anything to counter her because they discounted her power. Is that it?
Yeah, that's about the size of it, Don. Now, in the considered opinion of every Northern naval officer whom I've talked to, there's only just one thing that can stop the Merrimac, and well, that's a miracle. There's no defense against the ironclad. the way she could withstand the concentrated fire of even the most powerful batteries that the North has to offer on land or sea, well, that's shown that she can defy every weapon that the federal forces now have at their command. Then the Merrimac's iron plating permits her to get close enough to any opposing ship to drive home that ram of hers with deadly effect.
Well, then, as it looks now, Quincy, nothing can stop the Merrimac. What then?
The answer now just seems all too clear. The Confederacy will simply have broken the Northern blockade. And just think what that means. Up to now, the Northern blockade of the southern ports, well, that's been the Union's most effective economic weapon against the Confederacy. The Merrimac, though, now threatens to destroy that weapon. And the result will be that cotton, the money crop of the South, will again start flowing across the sea. And in exchange, of course, the South will get cargo upon cargo of badly needed guns, ammunition, food, all the essentials of war. A victory by the Merrimac would be likely to increase the war-making power of the Confederacy, I guess maybe 10 times over. Then there's this angle. England may decide to recognize the Confederate States of America as a sovereign nation and therefore entitled to all the international privileges of the belligerent.
Another point, Quincy. What do you think this effect will be, the effect of the Merrimac? Now, what will it have on naval strategy in this country and around the world?
Well, all I can say, Don, is everywhere I went, I heard people saying things like this. The era of the wooden ship is over. Every wooden war vessel now afloat, all the way from England's great ships of the line to the lowliest little corvette of the smallest nation. They've all become obsolete. Just in one day, we've witnessed a complete revolution in maritime warfare. And no one
Excuse me, Quincy, I'm sorry. We've just got a message from Douglas Edwards at Fortress Monroe overlooking Hampton Roads. He has with him the wife of a federal officer who's just come through the southern lines. So we take you now to Fortress Monroe and Douglas Edwards.
I'm in the correspondence room at Fortress Monroe. The young woman with me is Mrs. Lucy Creighton. Where is your home, Mrs. Creighton?
Providence.
Will you speak a little louder, please?
Providence, Rhode Island.
Mrs. Creighton, I know you must be very tired. You've had a long and hard journey, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I've just come through the lines on a safe conduct pass.
I understand. But will you tell us, please, what you were doing in the South?
My husband was wounded and taken prisoner at Fort Donelson in February. It was only a month after we were married. They arranged to let me go see him.
Mrs. Creighton, you were in Norfolk, Virginia last night. That's Southern territory. Can you tell us, please, how the people there received the news of the Merrimac's victory yesterday?
Well, they were very happy. They were shouting, dancing in the streets. They had a torchlight parade. I guess it must have been like that in every city of the South.
Mrs. Creighton, would you say, then, that the people of the South feel that the Merrimac is going to bring them victory in the war?
Oh, yes. They were all saying that after the Merrimac sinks our fleet, it's going to go north and bombard Philadelphia and New York. They were sure it would do that. And they were yelling and shouting that the war would soon be over.
Go on, please.
When the Confederate officer who accompanied me last night took me back to the northern lines, it was like riding through a carnival. When I reached the exchange point, the southern officer tipped his hat. He was very kind to me all the time, very nice. He tipped his hat and said that he was so glad the war would be over soon and we would be at peace again.
There's no doubt, then, that the morale of the people of the Confederacy has been lifted tremendously by the events of the last 24 hours.
Oh, I would say so, yes. All the time I was traveling in the South, I never saw anyone laugh or act like they were happy until last night in Norfolk when the news of the Merrimac came.
This is Don Hollenbeck at CBS Washington. We've interrupted Doug Edwards at Fortress Monroe because the Merrimac has been sighted. The immediate target seems to be the frigate Minnesota. Ken Roberts is aboard that ship, so now to the Minnesota and Ken Roberts.
The Merrimac is in sight. We can see the Merrimac. Just a few moments ago, the sun began to break through the overcast, and like a curtain rising on a stage, the mist lifted to reveal the squat and ugly form of the Merrimac, not more than a mile or two away, breasting the foam-capped water. She looks like a slanting black roof afloat in a flood. The officers here aboard the Minnesota estimate the top speed of the Merrimac to be only 5 knots, so it will be some time yet before the Confederate ironclad comes into cannon range.
I've also learned that the Merrimack carries 4 guns on each slanting side, and one pivot gun fore and another aft, making a total of 10 guns in all. The sides are sheathed in 4 inches of iron plate. All the Minnesota guns here are primed. The crew has been supplemented by many survivors of the Cumberland and the Congress, and directly above us we can see the big land-based guns of Fortress Monroe, also waiting for the Merrimack to come into range. The tugs are still pulling at the Minnesota, trying to get her free. The officers of the Minnesota and the tugs calling to one another as they cast lines, tighten and pull, then recast, tighten and pull again. Up on the bridge of the Minnesota, I can see the officers clustered together, watching the approach of the Merrimack. They're a grim, silent group. Now, as I look across the water, I can see Old Glory flying from the protruding mast of the Cumberland. Standing beside me is one of the survivors of that ill-fated ship, a young seaman taken aboard during the night after spending 14 hours clinging to a piece of wreckage. The Minnesota's commanding officer has given us permission to talk to him. What's your name, sailor?
Charles Horman, seaman 2nd class.
What was it like yesterday, Charles? What was the feeling aboard the Cumberland when the Merrimack came up for the attack?
Well, first off, we didn't think it was going to attack. We had our wash out on deck, and some of the boys were swabbing deck like as if nothing were going to happen. We didn't know.
When did you clear for action?
Well, it wasn't until almost she got into range.
Then what happened, Charles?
Well, first, I don't know, but first I think the Congress started firing, and then we saw she was coming our way, so we began.
Who was coming our way?
The Merrimack. So we began firing.
Did the Merrimack answer with her guns?
No, sir, she didn't. It was the craziest thing. Listen, it was crazy. She didn't fire not until she was so close we could almost reach out and touch her. That's how close I think. And then she let go with her bow gun. The shot went right through us, raked us fore and aft. Killed some of the boys, and those who were hurt started yelling and cussing.
What happened then, Charles?
Well, we fired everything we had out of then. Everything. All the guns we had. And we could see our shells bouncing off the side, bouncing into the water. It was crazy, honest. And the Merrimack kept right on, coming closer and closer, and we couldn't even figure out what was happening. She just kept coming at us. And then it was like somebody or something had got under our ship and heaved us into the air.
Into the air?
Yeah. You couldn't see nothing, only hear wood breaking, and the other guys yelling, and we filled it over until the decks were awash.
Go on, Charles.
Well, when we righted, the Cumberland began to lift fast because our whole underbelly had been ripped by the ram of the Merrimack. Just a chunk chewed out, and the water poured in. That was on the starboard side below deck. After that, there wasn't anything to do but jump, so I jumped. Believe me, I didn't even think about it. When Lieutenant Morris, who was deck officer, yelled for us to jump, I just jumped and prayed. When I got in the water, there was a busted spar floating nearby, and I got hold of it, and that was how I managed to save my life.
Well, it wasn't the guns of the Merrimack that did the big damage then. It was her ram.
Ram. It was the ram.
Thank you for talking with us, Charles Harmon. Now, here's another sailor from the Cumberland, but one whose experience is even more incredible, more dramatic. Your name, sailor?
Kavanaugh, Jimmy Kavanaugh, Bedford, Mass.
Well, every man who witnessed yesterday's engagement, Jimmy, is talking about your heroic effort to board the Merrimack. Tell us about it.
Well, look, I don't know. It wasn't anything.
You were aboard the Cumberland.
Yes, sir, both of me.
That's right. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, after we caught the broadside of the Merrimack, she come in so close that an officer on the Merrimack opened a porthole and yelled out, "Surrender, Morris, or I'll sink you."
That's Lieutenant Morris, deck officer of the Cumberland.
Yes, sir, that's right. And you know something? Here's something awful funny. It turns out that the officer on the Merrimack was a Lieutenant Jones who went to Annapolis with our Lieutenant Morris.
Is that so?
Yes, sir.
Well, what did your Lieutenant Morris reply?
Morris? Morris yells back, "Never, never, I'll sink first." By this time, the Merrimack was under our deck. Actually, under the deck. So I jumped on her. I had 2 pistols stuck in my belt. I jumped on her. They'd killed so many of us, you see. My boys, they were. 100 were dead, you see, and the others screaming and yelling. Well, I guess I lost my head, I guess. All I could think was that I wanted to get to that Merrimack and get even, see? For my boys to get even.
Yes. Go on, Jimmy.
So I didn't even think. I don't know. It happened like that, see? I don't know. I jumped over on the Merrimack and tried to climb her side. Get to the gun ports. Somewhere where I could see inside and let him have it with my guns. That's what I wanted to do, but it was so slippery. Like our greased boards. The iron was so slippery I couldn't get a foothold or nothing. Every time I climbed up a little, I'd fall back in the water. Then I'd try again and fall back again. All the time, the guns over my head were shooting, and the banging was making me deaf, so I saw it was no use, see? And then Well, by then the Cumberland was rammed and sinking, so I dived back in the water and held on to some wreckage, and later they picked me up.
That was a very brave thing you did, Jimmy.
100 of my kids they killed. I wanted to do something. That's all I wanted to do, you see.
I know your action will be well rewarded.
If I could have gotten a toehold. You see, it was like grease. The sides were so slippery.
Thank you, Boatswain's Mate Jimmy Cavanaugh. And now I have another sailor, a man who was aboard the Congress, who can give us a first-hand account of what happened there. His name is Pete Finley from New York City.
Yeah, I sure wish I was there again.
What's your rating, Pete?
Rating? Me? No rating for me. I'm just a member of the Naval Brigade.
Well, that's kind of like the militia, isn't it? Not regular Navy.
Yeah, not regular Navy, that's right.
Well, what were you doing aboard the Congress?
You better ask that of Father Abraham.
You mean President Lincoln?
That's what I mean. It was him who put us aboard that leaky old tub.
Were there many Naval Brigade men aboard your ship?
3 companies.
What about the regular crew?
They've been discharged 4 or 5 days ago. They're enlisted. What's up? We was put aboard to make it look like the ship was manned, I suppose. There wasn't even a single trained gunner aboard. Can you imagine that? So when the Merrimack, she lets go of us, and we see the Cumberland going, so we run up the white flag.
And
you couldn't expect any different. Now, could you?
I know.
We not been trained for fighting, if you know what I mean. Well, when it comes time, the white flag has gone up the mast, and I says to myself, I says, Petey boy, it's in the tank for you, and over the side I goes.
Over the side?
Yeah, you couldn't expect no different. Now, could you expect different?
Well, tell me, Pete, do you know when you'll get another ship?
Me? Another ship? With that thing, that iron boiler out there still riding wild? Oh, no, sir. No pot of water for me, not for Petey Finley. The land for me, and I'll kiss it, so help me if I ever get these big feet to feel the land again,
I'm sure you will, and thanks, Pete.
Yeah, I'm glad you're sure, mister. Wish I was.
Now, looking out to sea again, the Merrimack looms near us, smoke belching from her chimney, an ugly, misshapen monster. It's hard to estimate the space between them. The commander just given a clear ship for action. Men are ready to get position. Sorry, you have to go below. Shall we stay here? No, get below. Yes, sir. This is Ken Roberts. I'm returning out of CBS, Washington.
This is CBS, Washington. We take you now to Jackson Beck, somewhere in Hampton Roads. Come in, Jackson Beck.
Idea of where I was going, what I was to report. Under sealed orders, I was taken under escort to the Continental Iron Works in Brooklyn, New York. And here, for the first time, I was told of the nature of my secret mission. I was to accompany the Monitor on its journey to Hampton Roads. And, well, here I am. Now, what is the Monitor? Well, I have by my side the young commander of this unique naval vessel, Lieutenant John L. Worden. Lieutenant Worden, suppose you answer that question for us. Just what is the Monitor?
Well, sir, we hope the Monitor is the answer to the Northern Prayers. The craft of unique design, the idea of John Ericsson, the famous Swedish-American inventor. It's iron-hulled, surmounted by an armored circular turret 9 feet high, 20 feet diameter, covered with 8 folded layers of 1-inch iron. The turret and the little pilot house that lays forward are the only deck structures, except for smokestacks and exhaust grates, which we remove before going into action.
I see. What about your armament, Lieutenant Worden, or is that restricted information?
No, sir, it's no secret. We carry 2 11-inch Dahlgrens.
Well, the reports we have of the Merrimack say she carries 10 guns.
Oh, that's true, but her guns are smaller and stationary.
I see.
Ours are fitted into a revolving turret. We can shoot in any direction without having to maneuver into a firing position.
Well, then you think the Monitor is an even match for the Merrimack, Lieutenant Worden?
I think we're more than an even match, and we stand ready to prove it.
Can you tell us just how the Monitor came to be here in Hampton Roads right at this crucial moment?
I guess a good part of that is luck.
Oh?
We set out from Brooklyn 3 days ago. Our orders were for us to head for Hampton Roads at full steam. Last night we anchored in the darkness off the Roanoke, and one of our officers, my second in command, Lieutenant Sam Green, went aboard the Roanoke for orders. No one knew him, and he received his orders from the Admiral in secret. Now, these orders were clear and simple. We were to take up a position near the Minnesota and defend her from attack by the Merrimack. Well, we anchored in close under the Minnesota's lee side so that we were hidden from sight. Now that the Merrimack is coming in range, we're sailing out to carry out our orders, to defend the Minnesota. And we're going to do just that.
How many men? What's that?
No, Merrimack has opened fire.
You missed. Merrimack's right, sir.
Take over the firing, Terry Green. I'm going forward to the pilot house.
The Merrimack has opened fire. The first salvo missed us by some 20 yards, but the concussion of the shells is tossing the Monitor around like a cork. Here in the turret, the gun crew is stripped to the waist. There isn't enough room for a man to stretch out his arms. It's hot in here, and it's going to get much hotter. The crew is getting ready to fire. I can see the Merrimack now through a tiny slit in the metal turret. It is about 1,000 yards away. The snouts of her cannon are smoking from that first broadside, and the second one should be coming any minute. The Monitor has opened fire. We have opened fire. The blast is deafening. The heat. I can't think very much. We are being hit. No doubt you can hear that. But the shells of the Merrimack are bouncing hundreds of miles outside. The Monitor's 8-inch armor is holding. Getting set for another shot. I can't hear myself talking.
This is CBS in Washington. The noise of the firing aboard the Monitor makes it impossible to hear Jackson Beck, but John Daly aboard the northern flagship Roanoke has an excellent view of the action in Hampton Roads, so we switch now to him. Come in, John Daly, aboard the flagship Roanoke.
The battle between the Monitor and the Merrimack has begun. The Merrimack towering high above the water, and the tiny Monitor, David and Goliath, the two ironclads, are not more than a few hundred yards apart now, flinging tons of iron at each other's sides. It's a fantastic sight to those of us who covered other naval engagements. No fitted spars, no ripped wooden hulls. The Merrimack's guns are firing at will, and they keep up a steady hammering barrage. The Monitor fires one gun at a time at intervals. The very first blow that the Federal Monitor struck sent the Merrimack reeling backwards, but just for a moment. She came right back in again, and now she's letting go with every piece that she has, and incredibly, that shot is just glancing off the rounded turret of the Monitor without doing any perceptible damage, not a bit of it as far as we can see from here. The gallant little ship takes the full force of the shot without a tremor, without a sign of distress, and then she returns every salvo with a blast of her own. Her turret spins around as soon as one of her cannon is fired, and the second cannon is all loaded and ready to go. Right now, this fight has gotten so hot, the smoke is so thick, it's kind of hard to make out exactly what is going on, except that the two of them, the Monitor and the Merrimack, are actually standing toe-to-toe and slugging it out just like two bare-handed prisoners in the middle of a ring. Big blast of sound. They're just firing their guns as fast as they can load them. The Merrimack has just pulled out from the cloud of smoke, and she's leaving the Monitor. The Confederate ironclad is evidently going to try something. Here she's going to try to attack the Minnesota, one of the Federal ships. And here comes the Monitor. The Federal ironclad is sweeping in between the two of them, intercepting. She's forcing her iron side in between the Confederate Merrimack and that wooden Minnesota. She's challenging the Merrimack. She's challenging her to come back and give combat once again. The Merrimack is forced to turn. She's forced to turn and is turning on the Monitor, making full steam. The Confederate Merrimack looks like she's going to try to ram the Northern champion if she can. The two of them are almost deck to deck. But the Monitor is sweeping aside. She's turning out of the path of the Merrimack. She's avoiding that ram, and as she turns, she keeps blasting away at the Southern ironclad. That Monitor is still in that fight. She's still in between the Merrimack and that Federal wooden ship, the Minnesota. Once more, though, that Confederate ironclad has been turned away from her objective. She's been turned away from the wooden sides of the Minnesota. And this time, the little old Monitor seems determined to fight it out to the very finish. It's a terrific struggle, a battle of iron and steel. They're just blazing away. And the Merrimack is swinging around. Oh, she's slow and she's clumsy, but there's no question about it. She's turning. She seems to be heading back towards Norfolk. And there goes the Monitor after her, just like a puppy chasing after a bill lorry, barking frantically. Yes, the engagement is all but over. The battle is over, and the Northern fleet here in Hampton Roads is saved. The blockade of the South remains intact. There goes the Roanoke band, and just listen to that band. It's playing the brand new Bethlehem of the Republic, written only a month ago. And to be fair, neither the Merrimack nor the Federal Monitor was defeated, and neither one of them can really claim a clear victory.
this great naval battle which has just been fought so gallantly by the North and the South is a draw. However, it's an unhappy day for the South, for as long as the Monitor stands here in Hampton Roads, Southern hopes of breaking the federal blockade with the Merrimac are doomed, and the Monitor is going to stay here. This day, the
March 9, 1862, the Monitor stops the Merrimac, and the Union fleet is saved.
You have been listening to The Monitor and the Merrimac, another broadcast in the series You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon. The Monitor and the Merrimac was written by Irv Tunick and Mr. Cheon. The cast included Anthony Kemble Cooper, Cliff Carpenter, Joseph Boland, Bill Quinn, Patsy Campbell, Court Benson, Jim Davidson, Bert Cowlin, and others. Next week,
July 21st, 1881, the surrender of Sitting Bull. You are there.
CBS Christmas Weekend draws to its end tonight with two fine comedy shows. One of them drawing laughs from a schoolroom and the other from a general store. At 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, Our Miss Brooks finds Eve Arden starring as America's most unusual, at least unusually madcap schoolmistress. And at 10, it's no secret, Lum and Abner, those famous storekeepers, relax with you in the laughter that comes from their famous store, the Jot 'em Down store, located out in Pine Ridge, Arkansas. Climax your Christmas holiday with comedy in Our Miss Brooks and Lum and Abner tonight over most of these same CBS network stations. This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is John Daly in Athens. Will Socrates escape? That is still the big question here in the capital of Greece on this dying day in the first year of the 95th Olympia. I'm standing before the door of the prison, behind which the friends of the condemned philosopher, so the rumor goes, are urging him to save himself from drinking the poison hemlock. Socrates has only to walk out of that prison and board a ship to freedom in exile, and the prayers of his friends and the hopes of his enemies will be answered. This dramatic situation, which is having significant repercussions throughout the Hellenistic world, is now inevitably approaching its climax, and in 30 minutes from now, we'll know
399 B.C., CBS is there.
Ancient Greece prays that Socrates will not die. CBS takes you back almost 2,347 years to that fateful day when one of the most enlightened democracies on earth trembled on the brink of a cup of poison. All things are as they were then, except for one thing.
CBS is there.
CBS is there, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, with Walter Hamden portraying Socrates in this broadcast, is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
Athens, 399 B.C., and John Daly.
Heard the rumor that the friends of Socrates were in the prison, pleading with him to take his freedom. CBS has been here on the spot, attempting to verify that rumor. Should Socrates agree to save himself, it would be a simple matter for his friends to whisk him away through this sea of white tunics worn by bystanders only too willing and too eager to fulfill the hope of escape. We're directly in front of the prison door, but the brilliant red and orange of the setting sun is blinding me, and I'm not at all sure that I would be able to say for certain who came out of the deep gloom of the death house. The crowd here of some 3,000 or 4,000 men, women, children, and slaves is milling about me, cursing, praying, whispering in anxious groups. They know that when the sun sets, it will mark the moment when they may never again hear the voice of their beloved cross-examiner. His enemies, too, are anxious, for they're afraid. One of them has asked for an opportunity to speak to the public on our CBS microphone. He is the poet Miletus, Socrates' chief accuser at his trial. Miletus is not quite the most popular man in Athens today, and as a matter of fact, he's been hiding in the shade of the prison wall, and I'm going to wave him over here now to the microphone. And it's just as Miletus feared. This crowd has recognized him. They're surrounding him, shaking their fists, threatening, shouting imprecations. Women are clawing at him. Citizens! Citizens! Let Miletus speak! Let him speak! All right, Miletus, what have you to say?
Just one hope. With all good Athenians,
I pray that Socrates will escape.
But you who urged his death at the trial...
It's true that I was the chief accuser of Socrates. But Socrates himself said I was of no consequence. I merely presented what some people have been saying against Socrates for 20 years. That he was a corrupter of the minds of youth and did not believe in the gods of the city.
Let me ask you, Miletus, do you think Socrates will escape?
I do not know. But if he does, he's just another poor mortal like all of us who's afraid to die.
You mean you want Socrates to die?
No, all I said was that I'm not to blame. Blame the playwright Aristophanes. It was Aristophanes who first said that Socrates taught young men to cheat payment of their just debt, to deny the existence of the gods. I'm just a poor poet. Blame the rich playwright, don't blame me.
The poor poet, Miletus, has just blamed the rich and successful playwright Aristophanes for the death sentence imposed on Socrates. Aristophanes is at a CBS microphone with Ken Roberts right now in the Theater of Dionysius. He had agreed to make a statement for us, and as we still have no official news here as to whether Socrates will heed the counsel of his friends to escape, let's switch to Ken Roberts.
This is Ken Roberts in the Theater of Dionysius. The playwright Aristophanes is right here beside me. He heard what Miletus said, and by the smile on his face and the nodding of his head, I understand that he certainly would like to make a comment. Aristophanes?
I take it that the poor poet, Miletus, was referring to my play, The Clouds.
Yes, the comedy in which you lampooned Socrates as an evil character who ran a thinking shop.
Yes, the shop was called the School of Very Hard Thinkers.
Aristophanes, weren't the graduates of that school adept at the alleged corrupt and immoral practices that Miletus mentioned?
Oh, to be sure. But that was the comedy situation. And at that, it wasn't one of my better comedies. No, to blame a single play, not a very good one at that, for the death sentence of so celebrated a philosopher as Socrates is preposterous. After all, I'm a playwright, not a hangman.
But Aristophanes, Socrates himself said at his trial that your play contributed to the case against him.
No. He mentioned my play merely to brush it aside as of little consequence.
Yes, but
Sir, one of my severest critics measures the failure of a play by the amount of food eaten during the performance. When The Clouds was first offered 24 years ago, the trash collectors worked overtime. On the opening night, Socrates himself enjoyed the jolly lampoon of himself and laughed heartily at the caricature. He even stood throughout the performance to give the first nighters a better shot should they wish to hurl a handful of ripe figs at him.
I take it, then, that you're specifically denying Miletus's charge that your play was responsible for Socrates' death sentence.
Oh, emphatically. The death sentence was imposed not by any mere play, but by the ignorant jury of 500. Socrates himself said that. Or what else would you expect of an uneducated majority who have rather an odd conception of democracy?
What's your conception of democracy, Aristophanes?
Well, it certainly isn't killing a man who happens to disagree with me. I believe with Socrates that the sovereignty of the people has become a sovereignty of politicians. Socrates also believes that government is an art, and as such, it requires more training, knowledge, and skill than any other. You cannot leave questions of politics and justice to chance, nor to the vote of the mob.
And do you believe that the jury was acting as a mob?
Yes, of course. 500 men must decide a whole case in one day. And what may be momentary passion on one day may be passionate regret on the next. And that passionate regret may take another life. That's why Miletus is afraid. That's why he's throwing me to the mob.
Thank you, Aristophanes. By the way, citizens, if you are hearing strange music behind our conversation here in the Dionysian Theater, I'd like to explain that it's the flute player quietly rehearsing his part in Aristophanes' play Lysistrata. CBS also has a microphone at the home of Plato, the distinguished young philosopher and friend of Socrates. Plato also had agreed to make a statement for us. We have nothing from John Daly of any news about Socrates, so over to Plato's home and Don Hollenbeck.
Our CBS microphone is at the bedside of Plato. The 28-year-old philosopher has been ill these past few days. He says he objects strongly to Aristophanes' remark about democracy being responsible for Socrates' death sentence.
Miletus is throwing Aristophanes to the mob. But I protest the manner in which Aristophanes is throwing democracy to the mob. If Socrates dies, and I pray that the rumor that he will escape is true, it will not be democracy that is to blame. Our many wars with Persia and in the Peloponnesus have exhausted us in body and soul. 2 out of every 3 Athenian men have died in battle. Now the fever of fear runs high among us. We are confused, desperate, and so we seek someone to blame and sacrifice Socrates on the altar of our dying faith. It is not our jury system, as Aristophanes charges, that condemned Socrates. It is the prejudice of old men whose minds have been poisoned against him since they were children.
The old men you speak of, Plato, they are the jurors?
Yes. But they are merely the symbol of old ideas that fear to be challenged, cross-examined, and perhaps exposed as no longer virtuous in our time. That is why the old men hate Socrates. Socrates is like a gadfly on the backs of men. He forces them to cry out, "Socrates, you make me acknowledge my worthlessness." He makes them say, "I had best be silent, for it seems that I know nothing at all." And for that, he is hated. Now, Aristophanes is wrong. It is shameful. If Socrates dies, it will not be democracy that's to blame, but those who have lost faith in democracy.
Thank you, Plato. We have heard Miletus blame Aristophanes. Aristophanes blame the shortcomings of our democracy, and Plato blame our loss of faith in democracy. But no one has come forth to say that Socrates was justly condemned for the alleged crime of atheism and corrupting the minds of the youth. In order that you may have a chance to form your own opinions, CBS has prepared a special transcription of Socrates' trial, which we will play now. The next voice you hear will be the recorded voice of Socrates speaking to the jury at his trial 1 month ago in the amphitheater.
Athenians, you say first, I do not believe in the gods, and then again that I believe in demigods. You might as well affirm the existence of mules and deny that of horses and asses. Come here, Miletus. Now, is it not a fact you think it very important for the younger men to be as virtuous as possible?
I do.
Well, come then, tell the judges who it is improves the younger men.
Why,
Come now, you're accusing me of being the corrupter of youth. Reveal to the judges who improves them.
They.
You see, Miletus, you have nothing to say. You are silent. Is not your silence conclusive proof you never gave a moment's thought to the matter? Come, tell us, good sir, who makes the young men better citizens?
The laws.
My intelligent friend, that is not my question. What man improves the young who starts with the knowledge of the laws?
The judges here, Socrates.
Why, what do you mean, Miletus? Can they educate the young and improve them?
Certainly.
All of them, or only some of them?
All of them.
By here, that's good news. There's a great abundance of benefactors. And do the listeners here improve them or not?
They do.
And do the senators?
Yes.
Well then, Miletus, the members of the assembly, is it they who corrupt youth, or do they all improve them too?
They all improve them too.
Then all the Athenians, it seems, make the young into fine fellows, except me. I alone corrupt them. Is that your meaning?
Yes, most certainly that is my meaning.
It's absurd to believe that only one man is the corrupter of all, and that all the rest of the world is the improver of youth. I see present here in the assembly many of the young men whom it is said I gave them evil counsel. Meletus, call them forth to be your witnesses. Let them come forward and accuse me, and support you. Not one youth comes forward. Then let their fathers, who have grown up and are uncorrupted, or their relatives, come forward. No one? You see, Meletus, that's because they know very well I speak the truth. And they know very well, Meletus, that you're a liar. Strange indeed would be my conduct, O men of Athens, were I to desert the command of my God, to fulfill the philosopher's mission, to search into myself and other men, because I fear death. Men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you. And while I have life and strength, I'll never give up the practice and teaching of philosophy. And whoever I meet, I'll say to him, citizen of Athens, why do you care so much about money and honor and reputation, and so little about wisdom and truth? Athenians, I believe in God as no one of my accusers believes. And to you and to God I commit my cause to be decided as is best for you and for me. Then acquit me or not, but know I shall never alter my ways, not even if I have to die many times.
This is John Daly again outside Socrates' prison door. The recording you've just been listening to was a specially prepared transcription of Socrates' defense made at his trial 1 month ago. The prison door has swung open, and Crito, Socrates' rich friend, has come out, and with him is Xanthippe, the wife of Socrates. Xanthippe is crying. Wailing would be better. Crito has his arm around her shoulder. Behind Xanthippe is a slave with a baby in her arms, the youngest child of the 70-year-old Socrates. Here they come. Crito, will Socrates escape? Will Socrates escape?
Escape? He must escape. What will become of me and my children? What good is it, dead?
Please, Xanthippe, come away. Come away.
No. I've been silent all my life. He has talked himself into all of this trouble.
Please,
why didn't he keep his peace? Why didn't he stay at home like a good father and husband?
Go home. Socrates wants you to go home.
Home. He was never home. He left before the sun came up and returned long after we were asleep. He never brought money into the house. All he did was talk.
Woman, this is shameful. Have you no respect?
Respect? Did he have respect for me? Did he care for me and my 3 children? Talk. But I told him, Socrates, this is the last time you will ever talk to your friend.
Go now, woman, go. This is as far as I'll take you.
Never talk.
Go, I say. That was shameful, most unfortunate. Xanthippe is going off now. The crowd is parting, letting her through. What is it, Crito? What is it?
She did not give a true portrait of Socrates. Socrates' mission in life is to seek truth, and not to seek the easy comforts of home and hearth. His friends have provided for his family so that the philosopher might be free to inquire into the nature of knowledge. Socrates is a war hero, a veteran. Is this the best that Athens has to offer? A poor veteran who endured the hardships of war better than any mortal man? As for his children, we will provide for them after Socrates is gone. It is the matter of...
What do you mean by gone, Crito? Will Socrates escape or will he die?
Come with me.
But where? Where are we to go?
Come with me and you will know.
All right, I will. As Crito turns toward the prison door, the crowd opens to let us through. Xantippe has increased the tension here. His crowd is restive, confused, and still no answer to the all-important question, will Socrates escape? That bang was the door slamming shut behind me. It is being locked now. Crito is moving down the corridor in the deep gloom to which my eyes are not as yet accustomed. And now Crito is beckoning me into a cell, a high-walled, rock-ribbed chamber. And ironically enough, the slanting sun through the narrow window up there is shedding a rosy glow that seems to illumine and make of this chamber here a temple. There are 4, 5, 6 men standing by an empty couch, the prisoner's couch, I presume. Socrates doesn't seem to be here. Perhaps he has... No, Socrates is coming in now through another door and moving directly toward this microphone. He's going to talk to his friends once more.
My dear friends, your anxiety to save me is most valuable, if it be right. I am still, as I've always been, a man who will listen to no voice but the voice of reason. Come then, let us reason together on whether or not I should escape. If I run away to exile, where could I go? Will not orderly men and cities look askance at me as a lawless person? Is that true, sir, or not?
Yes, it's true, Socrates.
And do you think life would be worth living in disorderly states like Thessaly? What could I do there? I'd scarcely have the face to converse about virtue.
But at least you could be with your children and your family, Socrates.
What? Make them strangers to their own country? And the men of Thessaly, would they look upon the children of an escaped prisoner with good feeling or with contempt?
Then leave your children here, sir. Your friends will take care of them.
To be sure. But if they are real friends, will they not take care of them as well, whether I go to Thessaly or to the other world?
Certainly, Socrates. Escape then and live.
That's exactly what my friends have been urging me to do. But if I escaped and they helped me, they'd be committing a crime against the state. And for that, the state would punish them. Their lands, their wealth would be confiscated. And they might be banished as well. How, then, could banished or impoverished friends care for my wife and my children? No, my dear friends, that is not the way. A man should be guided only by the knowledge that he is doing right, even though the consequences are death. Citizen must obey the laws of his city, or his city will perish. The law of Athens condemned me, and therefore it is right I perish rather than the city that gave me life. So you see, my friends, the voice of reason tells me I have no choice but to die.
The jailer has come in with the cup of poisoned hemlock in his hand. He is trembling. His hand shakes as he approaches us.
Socrates, I know I shall not find you unreasonable like other men. They are angry with me. They curse me when I bid them drink the poison because the authorities make me do it. I'm sure that you will not be angry with me, but with those you know are to blame.
Friends, how courteous the man is. How generously he weeps for me. And the whole time I've been here, he has been constantly to see me and has been the best of men. And now I wish to prophesy to those Athenians who have condemned me, for I am dying. And then it is that men have most prophetic power. I prophesy that as soon as I am dead, a far severer punishment than death will surely overtake my judges. They've done this thing thinking they will be relieved from having to give an account of their lives. But if they think by putting men to death, they will restrain men from reproaching them for the evil of their lives, they are very much mistaken. It is much better for you and much easier not to silence reproaches, but to make yourselves as perfect as you can. This is my parting prophecy to those who have condemned me. Of you, my friends, I have but one request to make. When my sons grow up, visit them with punishment, if need be, and vex them in the same way I have vexed you. If they seem to you to care for riches or for any other thing before virtue, and if they think they are something when they are nothing at all, reproach them as I have reproached you for not caring for what they should and for thinking they are great men when in fact they are worthless. If you will do this, I and my sons will have received our deserts at your hands. And now the time has come. I to die, and you to live. Whether life or death is the better is known to God, and to God only.
Wait, Socrates. I think the sun is upon the hills. It is not yet set, so do not hurry. There is still time.
My dear Crito, by drinking the poison a little later, I think I shall gain nothing but my own contempt for so greedily saving up life which is already spent. The state of death is one of two things. Either the dead man wholly ceases to be and loses all sensation, or it is a migration of the soul unto another place. If death is like a sleep unbroken by any dreams, it would be a wonderful gain, for then it would appear that eternity is nothing more than a single night. But if death is a journey to another place, what greater good can there be than this? To sit and converse with such gods as Orpheus and Homer. I am willing to die many times if this be true. I pray the gods my journey hence may be prosperous. That is my prayer. Be it so.
Socrates has lifted the fatal cup to his lips.
No.
He is drinking the hemlock. It's impossible to describe. I can almost taste the poison on my own lips, and it's on the lips of all who are here, of all who are listening. It is Greece that dies, Greece that is dying, but Socrates will live as long as truth will live. And this fateful day in the first year of the 95th Olympiad will be remembered as long as men cherish knowledge above life itself. Athens,
399 years before Christ is born, Socrates dies.
You have been listening to The Death of Socrates, another broadcast in the series CBS Is There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon. The Death of Socrates was written by Joseph Bliss and Robert Louis Cheon, and the role of the philosopher was portrayed by Walter Hamden, with Oliver Clipp as Meletus, Arnold Moss as Aristophanes, Carl Swenson as Plato, Esther Sondergaard as Xanthippe, Charles Webster as Crito, and Philip Clark as the jailer. Next week.
Philadelphia, July Accord, 1776. CBS is there.
This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is John Daly in the new Senate building at Rome. Julius Caesar will attend the last session of the Senate on this 15th day of his 5th consulship. Caesar had planned to attend, you know, but then, for some strange reason, he changed his mind and sent word that he would not be present. Some of the senators then sent Decimus Brutus to urge Caesar to come, and apparently his intimate friend and trusted general was able to prevail upon him, for word has just reached us that the master of Rome is on his way here now, this Ides of March, accompanied by Brutus. And so the Senate attendants are again placing Caesar's chair in a rather curious spot, in front of the statue of Pompey, Caesar's old and dead enemy.
March 15,
certainly going to
44 BC, ancient Rome. You are there.
Julius Caesar on the Ides of March, the great Roman conqueror on his way to the Senate. CBS takes you back almost 2,000 years to the day that shook the Roman Empire and changed the course of history. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical fact in quotations. And now,
the Senate of ancient Rome and John Daly.
Last important session of the year. Perhaps Caesar's hesitancy about attending this final session of the Senate is due to the many rumors which are flying thick and fast around Rome. Rumors to the effect that Caesar's enemies, he has a great many hidden ones amongst the patrician upper classes, are plotting something to block this new era of popular reform ushered in by Caesar since his return from the wars. Just what they can do to stem this tide of social progress, which Caesar has set in motion, is difficult to imagine. But here is one imaginative fellow who seems to see things that ordinary people like you and me miss. He is Artemidorus, a soothsayer, who also makes a living on the side by teaching logic to some of the wealthier citizens of Rome. Artemidorus, how do you reconcile teaching logic with soothsaying?
With those who prefer prophecy, I prophesy. With those who prefer logic, I reason. I have found this the most logical way for me to make a living.
Sounds logical, but what does your soothsaying say about the rumors that are going around Rome to the effect that Caesar's enemies are plotting against him?
Well, I would say that the Ides of March may be shall we say, a fateful day for Rome.
What do you mean by fateful?
Oh, nothing for certain. Just that there are certain indications.
What indications?
Well, indications that this will be a very fateful day.
But are you trying to say that Caesar is in danger?
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. You see, it is just that, it is written in the sands and in the stars that, that even the mightiest among us may suddenly take leave and dwell with the gods.
All right, then, in your soothsaying mind, exactly what name comes to the surface as plotting Caesar harm?
I see a cloud of names.
What are they?
The cloud is clearing. I see certain letters, a number of C's.
Yes, go on.
The clouds have returned. I cannot see anything anymore. Peace be unto you.
Farewell. Artemidorus has just hurried away. I think he saw someone, although I'm looking in the direction he looked. And I can see only distinguished senators and several close friends of Caesar's. There's Ligarius and Tilius Cimber, Trebonius, and Cassius. Cassius is walking over here. He was recently appointed praetor by Caesar. Good day, Cassius.
Good day. Was that Artemidorus the soothsayer?
Why, yes, Cassius. Do you know him?
I have studied some logic with him, but I've found the fellow more given to imagination than reason. What did he say?
Well, he thinks Caesar has a lot of enemies.
One needn't be a soothsayer to divine that. Every ruler has an opposition.
You're speaking of the Optimates, I presume, the patrician ruling class.
Not only the Optimates. Many good and loyal citizens of ordinary rank take exception to some of the things that Caesar has done.
Oh, I was under the impression that most of the common people of Rome were ardently for Caesar and his policy of reform.
I wish they were. But you know, unfortunately, I have heard talk that many Romans are afraid that Caesar might become king.
But how could that be? We all know that Caesar has refused a crown several times.
Who can say what a ruler with all of Caesar's power will do next? We must always hope for the good of Rome that men with so much power will not abuse it for their own gain.
Thank you, Cassius. Caesar has not arrived yet. Here comes Mark Antony. Perhaps I can get him to say a few words. The proconsul, who shares the administration of Rome with Caesar, seems to be in fine spirits today. And when Caesar leaves tomorrow to subdue Parthia, Mark Antony will be temporary ruler of Rome, you know, in Caesar's absence. Oh, Mark Antony. Mark Antony, I've been trying to track down a story that there's a plot against Caesar.
Oh, that's an old story. People have been plotting against Caesar ever since he was born. He was kidnapped, you know, when he was a boy. Plotters. Do you remember Labienus? Do you remember Pompey? They all plotted against Caesar, but they're all dead now.
But then you do think, Mark Antony, that there may be some substance to this rumor.
Oh, no doubt about it. But whoever these plotters may be, let them beware. For all those who plot against my friend Caesar will sooner or later feel the edge of the hungry, naked sword of Mark Antony.
Caesar just walked in from Daly. He's accompanied by Decimus Brutus, and the senators have risen and are greeting him. Caesar carries his tall, slim figure erectly, as usual in military fashion. His gray eyes are sweeping the Senate as he walks. He bows politely to the senators and other high dignitaries, and though his face is kindly as usual, Caesar is not smiling today. He doesn't appear to be too well. He's reached his chair now, is sitting down, carefully arranging the folds of his brilliant white, purple-bordered toga. Many senators and officials are gathered around him. It's Caesar's custom before the session begins, you know, to hear private petitions. Tilius Cimber has approached Caesar and is standing directly in front of Caesar now, holding a petition. Cimber is speaking. Let's listen.
Great Caesar, liberator, father of the fatherland, if you have a petition, Tilius Cimber, I will listen to it with a better mind if you do not employ all those flattering and unnecessary adjectives before my name. What is it you wish?
Oh, Caesar, you will always be remembered for your clemency and your forgiveness. You pardoned most of your enemies. Please, oh Caesar, consider my brother, now banished from Rome and living in miserable exile in a barbaric land.
I have told you before, Tilius Cimber, that I will never pardon your brother. He has not only committed crimes against the state, but also savage crimes against humanity. I do not know how to forgive such evil. Do not beg too hard in his behalf, lest I think you think him guiltless, and so cover yourself with some of his guilt.
But, great Caesar, you have always been kind.
I will hear no more of your brother.
I beg you, please reconsider the case. I have all the facts here in this petition.
Tilius Cimber, I strike for liberty! Vile Castor, what does this mean? Cassius, strike! Die, Caesar! Die, senators!
An attempt is being made on Caesar's life. Castor has stabbed Caesar. Cassius stabs too. Caesar is out onto Castor's hands, trying to fight them off. Brutus has stabbed Caesar now, and they're all thrusting at him. All the senators around Caesar, stabbing in a frenzy. Tilius Cimber, Cassius, Brutus, Castor, Ligarius. They're murdering Caesar right before my eyes. Caesar is resisting no longer. He's fallen, is lying in a pool of blood. Brutus and Cassius stand over his body, clasping hands, congratulating each other. And now Brutus is shouting to Cicero, the venerable leader of the Senate.
Cicero! See how the tyrant lies dead at Pompey's feet. Rome is free. Liberty is restored. The Constitution is saved.
The senators are running out of the Senate. The men who murdered Caesar are waving their daggers, shouting, Rome is free, the tyrant is dead, liberty is saved. The Senate is emptying rapidly. Julius Caesar is dead this Ides of March. It means Rome will be in a turmoil. I return you to our CBS studio.
This is Ned Calmer. The men who killed Caesar call themselves the Tyrannicides. Right now, they're staging a torchlight procession along the Via Flaminia. Don Hollenbeck is there in a CBS mobile unit, so over to Don Hollenbeck.
The torchlight procession is passing by us now. Many of these paraders are drunk, some with wine, some with the event, and some with both. The parade is a strange mixture of venerable senators, young perfumed dandies, the younger members of the patrician class. But the strangest thing about this parade is that there are no people on the streets to watch it. Not a soul present to cheer or throw flowers or wave a hand. One of the leaders of this parade is Tullius Cimber, the senator who gave the signal for the attack on Caesar. He's right here beside me. Tullius Cimber.
Everything is going to be all right. Rome is free. Everybody is free. There's nothing to fear. Nothing.
Perhaps the people of Rome aren't sure what will happen, Tullius Cimber. Perhaps that's why they're hiding.
There is nothing to fear. The people will still get their free food and their free circuses. Bread and circuses. What else do common people need?
Perhaps they want liberty and dignity.
Liberty and dignity. That's why we disposed of Caesar.
The parade is passing on down the Via Flaminia now. Tullius Cimber lurching after it, waving his dagger, shouting to a deserted street. This is Don Hollenbeck. I return you to our CBS studios.
This is Ned Calmer again. Cassius, Brutus, and the other leaders of the Tyrannicides are now meeting with Mark Antony. Cicero is acting as the mediator. This surprising development would seem to indicate that Mark Antony may make peace with the men who killed his chief. There are even rumors that he'll accept a major post in the new government. The body of Caesar has been removed from the Senate and taken to his home by his servants. And now here is Quincy Howe to analyze all these fast-moving events.
Well, this much seems clear. Mark Antony hopes to avoid another civil war, even if he has to forget his loyalty to Caesar and make a deal with the murderers, who, by the way, must now decide fast what to do with Caesar's body. That's because it's always been a custom to throw the dead bodies of murdered tyrants into the river Tiber, unhonored, disgraced. But if Caesar's body were thrown into the Tiber, all his laws and appointments would become null and void. And all the men now meeting with Mark Antony, except Cicero, all these fellows received their appointments to top government jobs from Caesar himself. Thus, if Caesar's body should be thrown into the Tiber, they'd automatically put themselves out of office. The big question really is no longer Mark Antony, but the people. What will the people do? They can't stay behind locked doors much longer. Here's Ned Calmer.
A statement has just been released by the men at Mark Antony's house. It says they've decided to give Julius Caesar a public funeral, and that Mark Antony himself will deliver the funeral oration. Ken Roberts and Caesar's wife, Calpurnia, are at Caesar's palace on the Tiber now, waiting to talk to us. So over to Ken Roberts.
I am speaking to you from the atrium of Caesar's home. Calpurnia, Caesar's wife, has just learned that the Tyrannicides will allow a public funeral for her husband, and she has given orders that the body of Caesar be taken now to the Forum. Calpurnia, would you care to comment on the decision of the Tyrannicides to allow a public funeral for your husband?
Yes. It is an old Roman custom to invite intimate friends to private funerals. A public funeral does not alter this in any way at all. I know Caesar would want all his friends to be present.
Calpurnia, what made Caesar change his mind and attend the Senate?
His very close friend, Decimus Brutus, came and persuaded him because there were urgent and pressing matters in the Senate requiring his personal attention. This was the same Decimus Brutus whom Caesar loved and trusted, whom he raised from perfumed obscurity to wealth, honor, and high position. And all the time he pleaded with Caesar to come, a dagger lay hidden in his toga. And when Caesar came, of all that august and honorable body of senators, not one raised a hand to help. Hirelings, betrayers, puppets for the idle, degenerate patricians. They were all conspirators. It was not Caesar who threatened Rome. It is the 500 families that rule our city. They killed my husband because he sided with the people. Caesar never wanted to be king, and every one of those murderers knew it.
Thank you, Calpurnia. This is Ken Roberts. I'll return you to CBS.
Quincy Howe again. Tullius Cicero has just announced that he will be unable to attend Caesar's funeral. The leader of the Senate said, and I'm quoting, "The death of Caesar has so affected me that my physician has advised against my attendance." End quote. Just a few words of comment on this statement of Cicero's. Cicero argued for all he was worth against the public funeral. He said it was playing with fire, especially since Caesar's last will and testament will be read in the forum where the ceremony is about to take place. Now, no one knows what Caesar's will contains, but since Caesar was always generous to the plebeians, there's good reason to believe that his will may contain some surprises which might prove, a bit unsettling to the public peace, if you get my drift. This is Quincy Howe. I switch you now to John Daly in the forum.
Never was our country in greater danger.
The speaker you hear addressing the crowd here in the forum is Caius Cassius, one of the leaders of the conspiracy against Caesar. He and other gifted public speakers among the Tyrannicides have been haranguing this crowd of more than 50,000 people, trying to make them see the wisdom and necessity of disposing of Caesar, but the crowd listens quietly, very quietly. The big question is still what's going on in the minds of these 50,000 silent Romans. Cassius has finished speaking. And now Decimus Brutus, the most gifted speaker of all the Tyrannicides, has stepped up to the rostrum. He's greeted with respectful silence. This should be interesting, so let's listen.
Of Rome, I, Decimus Brutus, was Caesar's closest friend, yet I killed him. I, Decimus Brutus, was his trusted general and confidant, yet I betrayed him. Why then did I take his life? Was it to enrich myself? The death of Caesar will not make any of us richer. Was it because I bore him a grudge? No one had more cause to love and honor him than I. Why then did I kill and betray my friends? The answer is, citizens of Rome, that Caesar was a grave danger to Rome, for Caesar would be king. You cannot have both a king and a republic. Our great nation is a democracy, a magnificent civilization which cannot abide kings or emperors, for then we would be like the barbarians who have not learned how precious and sweet is liberty. Oh, Romans, here in my hand is the dagger with which I slew my dear friend. It is still sharp and keen. If I have wronged you, citizens of this free land, if I have wronged you by killing Caesar, then shall I plunge this dagger gladly into my breast. Speak, citizens of Rome!
Most of the big crowd is unmoved and silent. Their attention has turned away from the rostrum to the approach of Caesar's funeral procession. Decimus Brutus is speaking again.
You have given me your answer. I sheath my dagger. Caesar's funeral procession approaches. By my permission, Mark Antony will deliver the funeral oration. Stay and listen to him, for you all know that in some respects, Caesar did serve his country well. It is fitting that you pay him your last respects. And so, farewell, good citizens. We shall meet again on some happier occasion.
Brutus has left the rostrum. The funeral procession is inside the forum now, coming to a halt in front of the rostrum itself. Calpurnia, wearing a shabby toga, as is the custom, and Mark Antony seem to be the principal mourners. The body of Caesar is being carried on a couch and placed in front of the rostra. 6 citizens are carrying it. The couch is draped with a white cloth trimmed with purple, and now the music has stopped, and the herald steps forward.
This citizen, Caius Julius Caesar, has surrendered to death. Mark Antony will now deliver the funeral oration. My fellow Romans, my countrymen, I need not tell you of Caesar's great and good deeds, as is the manner at funerals. You know them well enough. You remember who forced the optimates, the nobles, to give the people a share of the public lands? It was not Cassius. No, not Cassius. It was Caesar, now dead by Cassius' hands. Do you remember, citizens of Rome, who passed a law that allowed liberated slaves to become citizens? It was not Simba. No, not Simba. But Caesar, the man Simba so cruelly stabbed. Do you recall, good citizens, who it was the Senate declared to be godlike in his clemency to his enemies? It was not Cinna. No, not Cinna, but the man Cinna cut down with a hideous dagger. Can you bring to mind, my fellow countrymen, who 3 times refused the offer of a crown? It was not Decimus Brutus. No, not Brutus, but the man Brutus so monstrously betrayed. Yet all these conspirators have nothing to say about Caesar but that he was ambitious, that he desired to be a king. Although they knew it well that Caesar, now lying fiercely dead before us, never wished to be a king. Citizens, I will tell you why they killed him. They killed him because he stood in the way of those corrupt aristocrats upon whom Caesar waged unremitting war all his life.
Mark Antony is not in league with the conspirators, has dropped the mask of collaboration. He's attacking the Tyrannicides with power and passion, and the crowd has suddenly come alive. This is what they've been waiting for.
That's enough of praise! Enough of praise! We have a matter of a last will to be read. Caesar's will. And you shall hear it now. I bid you, heralds, step forward and read Caesar's last will and testament. Step forward.
The herald steps forward, unrolls the parchment. The crowd is hushed, straining forward.
I, Caius Julius Caesar, do declare this to be my will. This will to be executed immediately upon my death. To each citizen of Rome, I hereby allot 75 drachmas. My gardens along the Tiber River, so long coveted by many envious aristocrats, I bequeath to the people of Rome as a public park. What remains of my property, I bequeath to Octavius Caesar, my nephew. Should Octavius fail, then I name as my second heir Decimus Brutus.
Stepping back, the herald rolls up the parchment, and the crowd is now denouncing Decimus Brutus all the conspirators, is calling for vengeance. Mark Antony has stepped up to the body of Caesar. He rips the covering off the body, and the mutilated body of Caesar now lies exposed. The crowd is in frenzy.
Citizens, here lies the father of your country. Here lies the hero of Rome. Here lies our beloved comrade and friend. Here he is, lifeless. Although the Senate had sworn to protect him with their lives, here he lies dead. Dead not by disease or age or war, but killed by his own countrymen. Oh, Caesar, those whom you spared and showed mercy and kindness, they have spilt your life away. Where, Caesar, is your love for mankind? Where now are those great and noble laws you'd pass for the common people? Caesar, stand up, and let the public see you. You cannot, for you are murdered. Murdered by the very same people you saved. Oh, Rome. Oh, citizens of Rome. Our father, our comrade, lies quiet and still and forever dead. Romans, let us not proceed to the campus martius for the funeral fire. Let us have the funeral fire here and now in the forum. No greater honor is come upon our fallen leader. No greater defiance can we give to the conspirators. Then light our torches at Caesar's fire and hunt down and burn and kill the conspirators.
The crowd roars its silent approval, and the funeral music is started again. The tyrannicides have failed. Their bid for power is over. Even in death, Caesar has conquered, and execution or exile awaits the conspirators. Flaming torches are being applied to the rostrum.
The Ides of March 44 BC. Julius Caesar is assassinated, and the course of history is changed.
You have been listening to The Assassination of Julius Caesar, another broadcast in the series You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon. The Assassination of Julius Caesar was written by Sigmund Miller. Mark Antony was played by Torrin Thatcher, and the cast included Thomas Chalmers, Raymond Edward Johnson, Wesley Addy, David Orrick, Richard Waring, Ann Seymour, Guy Sorrell, Bert Cowlin, and others. Next week,
June 30th, 1520, Mexico City. The death of Montezuma. You are there.
Broadway is my beat, says Detective Danny Clover. And today, Danny's going to explore the strange actions of an out-of-work Broadway actor engaged to an heiress who's a friend of Danny's. Broadway is my beat will come to you later this afternoon on most of these same CBS network stations. This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is John Daly on a little sagebrush-covered mesa overlooking the Mission Alamo. The besieged and completely surrounded garrison of Free Texans, less than 200 men, are still blocking the advance of Santa Anna's 3,000 Mexican troops into the heart of Free Texas. They still hold out, but it may be that on this morning of March 6, 1836, Santa Anna's troops will storm forward in their final all-out attack, For a short while ago, Santa Anna's cannon, which for 11 days have kept up a relentless bombardment of the Alamo, suddenly ceased firing. And there are signs of activity in the Mexican lines. Couriers began to dash to and from Santa Anna's headquarters.
The Alamo, March 6th, 1836. CBS is there.
The defense of the Alamo. CBS asks you to imagine that our microphone is present at this unforgettable moment of Texas history. All things are as they were then, except for one thing.
CBS is there.
This broadcast, the sixth in a special summer series produced and directed for Columbia by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
The Alamo, March 6th, 1836, and John Daly.
Out before us, we wonder, as the whole world wonders, what is going on inside the Alamo. The little mission, which looks like a brown roosting hen, its head the bell tower and its body the rectangular stockade that stretches back from the mission proper, is ominously quiet. Our CBS mobile unit is outside the Mexican lines and about a half a mile away from the Alamo. The Mexicans have taken no notice of our unit since they first questioned us when we arrived on the scene. The fact that the United States is officially neutral in this revolt of the Texas patriots against the Santa Anna government still protects us and permits us to continue our observation and reports without let or hindrance. No military action in all history can be compared to this siege. These men, these Texans, could have escaped. They had full warning of Santa Anna's approach with his army of 3,000. But they chose to stand because they knew that unless Santa Anna was stopped, if only for a few precious days, unless his relentless march was stalled, all of free Texas would fall before the invaders. Of course, it's still possible that the Alamo may be relieved. It's still possible that reinforcements may come. Involuntarily, we keep staring toward the east. Along the road, relief may come, must come, if it is to come, a road swept by a cold March wind. Actually, we know that the chances for relief are so small as to be practically non-existent. These Texans, these farm boys and trappers and cattle raisers, these lads who a few weeks ago were plowing fields and milking cows, have almost overnight become soldiers. And meanwhile, one of the most puzzling aspects of the situation has been the continued silence of the portable radio transmitter we know to be inside the Alamo. Our technicians have been on the alert constantly, day and night, but so far we have not been able to get any signal from within the walls. Meantime, the panorama of battle stretches out before us. It looks like some toy battlefield, but we know it is real. The bodies of white-clad Mexican soldiers sprawled on the ground are real. The red blood flag denoting no quarter flies from Santa Anna's lines. Soldiers always say that waiting is worse than battle. We know what they mean now, but we will wait here. And this is John Daly, returning you to the temporary capital of this infant nation, Washington on the Brazos, and Ken Roberts.
This is Ken Roberts inside the small, rude, unpainted building which houses the Free Texas Convention, or Consultation as it is called. That cold March wind John Daly spoke about is blowing on the Brazos, too, and the windows of the building have been covered with canvas in an attempt to hold out the cold. The convention, which is working on the Free Texas Constitution, is in recess. Most of the delegates are standing about in small, solemn groups. They're talking quietly and soberly of the news they've just heard from John Daly, the news that the final all-out attack on the Alamo may be impending. Mrs. Eliza Benson, who lives in the neighborhood, is here with me now. She has kindly consented to answer a few questions. Mrs. Benson, I understand you have a son with Lieutenant Colonel Travis at the Alamo.
Yes, I have, Mr. Roberts.
Well, how long has he been in the Army?
Oh, not long. 2 weeks, maybe. We only been in Texas all told less than 3 months.
Where did you come from, Mrs. Benson?
From Indian Territory out near Independence Way. See, we had a few acres that Sam, my husband, bought from the land office.
Uh-huh.
And the Indians come and Sam was killed. We didn't have anything, not even a wagon. So I took my boy Philip and we walked down here. 250 miles. Sure was a long walk.
Yes, it must have been. And now you have a home here in Texas?
Well, we got some acreage near Goliad. But just when Philip was getting set to put in a crop, all this trouble started. All the young men went into the Army, and Philip, he went too.
Do you think those boys, Philip and the others, will be able to hold off Santa Anna?
Well, I didn't know anything about that. Philip is where God put him. It's not for his mother or anyone else to decide such questions. But I know the men who are with him, Billy Travis, Colonel Boyd, David Crockett, and the other lads from our little town, other towns in Texas, they'll be doing what they should be doing. They'll be brave.
Thank you, Mrs. Benson. I wish you could see these faces around me now. They're American faces, wind-bitten and square-jawed. The language is the language of the Tennessee hills, the Mohawk Valley, the farmlands, the old frontiers, the places you and I know. Although until 4 days ago, when the Texas Declaration of Independence was signed, this land had been politically foreign, it has long been culturally and physically allied to the United States. These people, these Texans, are the cousins and the brothers and the husbands of our own families. They are our kin. For example, the Texan, the typical Texan who's standing at our CBS microphone now. He's a tall, bony figure of a man in buckskin breeches and homespun shirt. He's grinning at the description. What is your name, sir?
Smithwick. Noah Smithwick.
And where is your home, Mr. Smithwick?
Well, I got a parcel out San Felipe way.
Well, where was your home before you came to Texas, Mr. Smithwick?
Kentucky. Hopkinsville.
And what brought you to Texas?
Well, I reckon the same thing that brought the others. A chance to own some land, new start. Maybe just a kind of itch to haul up anchor and see some new ports.
You talk like a Navy man.
Well, I was one during the war against England, 1812.
I see.
Yeah, gunner's mate on the good old Constitution. Ironside, that was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I came home after the war and kind of couldn't get used to things, you know. And a fella come through town, he talked mighty big about this here place called Texas and said as how old Moses Austin got himself a whopping big grant of land and was offering farmland and some 400 acres of pasture to folks who'd come down this way. So pack up my kit and caboodle and come down.
Well, did you get all that was promised to you, Mr. Smithwick?
Got some.
Well, is Texas what you expected it to be?
Well, I reckon it's a mite different from what we was told it'd be.
How's that, sir?
Well, this fellow who signed us up, he's a tolerable good liar, you know.
Liar?
Yeah. He said that there'd be no taxes, and he said as how the country was so full of game. Now, get this. Wild horses, turkey, and buffalo, that all one would have to do to get a meal is pitch a bowie knife over his left shoulder. And he said as how when you planted corn, you'd have to back up real fast so as the stalk wouldn't bash in the chin coming up. Terrible good lie he was.
Well, Mr. Smithwick.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what the boys at the Alamo are doing? Holding off Santa Ana, I mean. Giving Texas time.
Oh, well, I tell you, I figure this way, Mr. Roberts. That's your name, isn't it?
That's right, sir.
Yeah? Well, those boys, they kind of calculated what the situation was and did what they figured was needed. And it's a right grand thing they're doing, and we ain't forgetting that either. Those boys know what they're fighting for.
Yes, I guess they do.
So we got no more reason to be part of Mexico than we has to be part of China, you know.
How's that, Mr. Smithwick?
Well, we don't speak the same language, think the same way, and that ain't all. We've been doing our best, you know, to mind our own business, asking precious little. But now what's happened? Well, I tell you, Steve Austin goes down to Mexico City to speak our cause, and Santa Ana smacks him into a dungeon for almost a year. Now tell me, is that how free citizens get treated in a decent country?
Oh, I guess it isn't.
No, you guess right. We ask for schools for our kids and little things like trial by jury and the right to speak a piece when we're in a mind to speak. Now, I know what the talk is how we're all of us here nothing but a crew of pirates and ruffians out to stir up trouble. Well, that just ain't so. We're plain, ordinary, God-fearing
Excuse me, Mr. Smithwick. The rider has just entered the convention hall. His clothes are caked with mud. He looks tired. He looks as if he's ridden
ridden a long way and ridden hard. The men are crowding around him now, but he's pushing his way through to the dais. I'm going to try to get up to him. One side, please. Would you step aside, please? Get off that cable. Please, let me through. Please. Who is the rider, sir? Where is he from?
Billy Travis from the Alamo. He's got a dispatch for General Houston.
The rider is from the Alamo. He's come from the Alamo. General Sam Houston has just entered the hall. The rider is talking to him now. And there's Mr. Richard Ellis, the president of the convention. The news of the rider's arrival has spread all over. All the delegates are pouring in now. General Houston is reading the dispatch handed to him by the rider. It must be news from the Alamo at last. News from inside the Alamo. Now General Houston is talking to Mr. Ellis. He's pointing to the dispatch. Wait a minute. Just a moment. Mr. Ellis is raising his hand. He's pounding.
Gentlemen, quiet, please. Please, quiet. Quiet. Gentlemen, we have here a dispatch from Lieutenant Colonel William B. Travis, commanding the garrison at San Antone de Bexar. General Houston has asked me to read it to you. To the Commander-in-Chief of the Army of Texas. On the 23rd of February, the enemy in large force entered the city of San Antone de Bexar, which could not be prevented as I had not sufficient force to defend my position. Colonel Batters, the adjutant major of the President General Santa Anna, demanded a surrender at discretion, calling us firing rebels. I answered them with a cannon shot. The enemy commenced a bombardment with a 5-inch howitzer, which together with heavy cannonade has been kept up incessantly ever since. I instantly sent express to Colonel Fannin at Goliad and to the people of Gonzales and San Felipe. Our numbers are few, and I have every reason to expect an attack from the whole force of the enemy very soon. But I shall hold to the last extremity, hoping to secure reinforcements in a day or two. Do hasten on aid to me as rapidly as possible, as from the superior number of the enemy, it will be impossible for us to keep them out much longer. If they overpower us, we fall a sacrifice at the shrine of our country, and we hope posterity in our country will do our memory justice. Give me help for my country, victory or death. Signed, W.B. Travis, Lieutenant Colonel. So ends the dispatch.
There it is. There you have it. The first official word of the situation within the Alamo. I hope you heard it as Mr. Ellis read it to the delegates here at Washington on the Brazos this morning of March 6, 1836. Although the dispatch confirms everything John Daly has been able to report to you from the CBS mobile unit, although most of the information contained in the dispatch is already known, still this is the first official word that has come through from the Alamo itself since it was besieged 11 days ago. While the dispatch was defiant, almost heroic, its meaning is clear. The situation was desperate then when there was still hope for reinforcements. It is even more desperate now that hope is dim. Mr. Ellis, General Houston, and some of the delegates have been holding a consultation. Mr. Ellis is calling for order again.
Gentlemen, quiet. Quiet, please, quiet. General Houston, I will now give you your orders. As Commander-in-Chief of the Texas Army, you're ordered forthwith to repair to such place on the frontier as you may deem advisable. You will proceed to establish headquarters and organize an army, and you will require all officers of the army of whatever grade to report to you. And, as it is impossible at this time to determine any particular line of action, you will act according to the emergencies of the occasion and the best dictates of your own judgment for the purpose of protecting our frontier and advancing the best interests of our country.
Thank you, sir. Good day.
You have just heard General Houston's orders as given to him by Mr. Ellis. The general has saluted Mr. Ellis now,
He's coming this way, pushing his way through the delegates. They're shaking his hand, patting him on the back, and wishing him well. Oh, General Houston, this is CBS.
Yes?
General Houston, can you tell us anything about your plans?
It is my intention to fight Santa Anna.
But are you ready, sir? Is Texas ready to challenge, to fight the immense army of Santa Anna?
When is Texas not ready to fight?
What about the Alamo, General Houston? Can you tell us anything about the Alamo?
Colonel Travis and his boys are standing at the Alamo for one purpose, to give me time to organize a defense against Santa Anna. They saw their duty. They did not waver. I will not waver in mine.
Can you give us a message to the American people, General Houston?
Yes. You heard the dispatch from Colonel Travis. He said, "Give me help, oh my country." Well, I say, volunteers from the United States for the Army of Texas will be welcome. I say to all red-blooded Americans, come to Texas. Come with a good rifle. And come soon. In the name of the men of the Alamo, liberty or death.
Thank you, General Sam Houston, Commander-in-Chief of the Army of Texas. The general is leaving the building now, surrounded by the delegates. These people have placed their highest hopes in Sam Houston, the tight-lipped, broad-shouldered ex-governor from Tennessee, upon whose military skill their very lives are now dependent. Undoubtedly, the events that have happened here in the last few minutes have given John Daly, our CBS correspondent near the Alamo, the first official news of the situation inside the mission. So now, John Daly.
Heard some faint sounds from the shortwave transmitter inside the Alamo. The couriers behind Santa Anna's lines have disappeared. The silence has deepened. The wind continues to howl, and the first rays of the sun are now beginning to streak the battlefield before me. I can't tell you how deeply all of us here were moved by the reading of the message from Colonel Travis. As we heard his words, we were able to look down on the mission, to see the pitiful inadequacy of its defenses. Less than 200 men against 3,000. The odds are staggering, and they become epic when you stop to think that they were chosen by the less than 200. I keep watching that road over which reinforcements must come. There's no sign of help, but there is something coming through by shortwave from the Alamo. We have a shortwave receiver tuned to their frequency, and the signal is clear. Let's listen to it.
Lieutenant Colonel Travis, our garrison commander, has a message. Here is Lieutenant Colonel Travis.
To the people of Texas and all Americans in the world, fellow citizens and compatriots, I have sustained a bombardment and a continual cannonade for many days, and have not lost a man. I shall never surrender or retreat. I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character, to come to our aid with all dispatch. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due to his own honor and that of his country. Victory or death.
This is the Alamo. This is the Alamo. That was the commander of our garrison, Lieutenant Colonel William B. Travis, appealing for reinforcements. I hope we're getting through. I hope you heard the colonel, because we sure need those reinforcements. Now, here's the Honorable Daly Crockett. He wants to say a word.
Howdy. Can't talk long, because it looks like we got a little excitement here about. Some of you folks are wondering what an ex-congressman is doing down here in San Antonio. Well, I had a bit of a difference of opinion with my constituents back home in Tennessee. I told them that if they didn't re-elect me, they might all go to blazes, and I'd go to Texas. Here I am. And here's where every freedom-loving man ought to be. I'm proud to identify myself with the fighting men of Texas. I consider it a rare honor to be able to defend, in company with my fellow citizens, the liberties of our common country.
That was the Honorable Davy Crockett talking to the people of the United States of America. Well, where are you, lads? You coming? We're waiting on you. This is the Alamo. This is the Alamo. Hope we're getting through. I reckon you folks might like to know how we're making out here. Well, we got beeves enough, corn enough, and I ain't heard no complaining yet about the supply of liquid refreshments. It's quiet now. Too darn quiet for comfort, if you're asking me. Some of the boys are catching a little shut-eye at the posts. And we made up that when the attack comes, the bells here will be rung, and that'll be the alarm. Well, now, some of the boys got some messages they want me to send, so here goes. Pinky Benedict says for his wife not to worry, and maybe it'd be a good idea if she visited her sister in Memphis for a stretch. Wally Bradley, he says for his kid brother to be sure he watches out for his traps, he said, in the bayou, and to move him over to Short Creek for beaver in about a month. Now, this next one is kind of personal, so all you people listening, stop up here, see? It's from Dick Salmon. He says to his wife that he sure loves her a heap, and to kiss the baby for her. Kiss him for me, too, Mom. Well, now, that's all for now. This is the Alamo signing off. We'll try to get back on the air again soon. Signing off. Signing off.
You have just heard the first radio message direct from the Alamo. The convention on the Brazos must have heard it also, so back to Convention Hall and Ken Roberts.
The impact of the message from the Alamo on the delegates assembled here was profound. They gathered around the radio and hung on every word. Their faces reflected their anxiety, their anguish, their prayers for the boys at the Alamo. But they have not permitted their feelings to sway them from their determination to make Texas free. The delegates have taken up their new day's labor on the draft of the Constitution. They are determined that the time granted them by the stand at the Alamo must not be wasted. These few days of respite may mean the difference between victory for free Texas or death for its dream of independence. And help is on the way, we know that, as Travis and his men hold off Santa Anna on the western frontier. Volunteers from the United States are pouring in from the east. They're coming, they're on the march. Men from Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, and Indiana. Men from Maine and New York and Massachusetts. Right at this moment, a transport loaded with troops headed for Texas is about to pull out from a wharf somewhere in Louisiana. For an on-the-spot description of the embarkment of these volunteers, we take you now to Jackson Beck.
This is Jackson Beck on the wharf in Louisiana. A crack regiment of militia, Colonel Thomas Watson commanding, is aboard ship and ready to sail for Texas. There's a band here on the deck serenading the boys, and hundreds of people have turned out to see them off. I'm not permitted to give you their exact number, but I can tell you that the number is not meager, and the men are packed with fight. For the past few days, ever since news of Santa Anna's advance and the siege of the Alamo reached New Orleans, an air of wild excitement has spread over the city. Though the United States government maintains a strict policy of official neutrality, it is inevitable that the natural sympathy for the American colonists in Texas should be translated into action. Enlistment officers are on every street corner, and the roll of volunteers swells every hour. Beside me now is the man who commands this detachment, Colonel Tom Watson. Colonel Watson, it looks like your men are anxious to get to Texas.
Anxious, If that steamboat don't sail fast enough, I reckon this hour they'll get out and swim. We're all anxious. We're proud to be able to lend a helping hand to our brothers of Texas. To fight for freedom, sir, is man's greatest privilege. If the boys at the Alamo are listening, here's our message to them. We are coming. We are marching to Texas. Victory or death.
Thank you, Colonel Watson. There goes the ship's bell. She's ready to pull out. Colonel Watson's going aboard. The excitement of the crowd is now at peak level. The lines have been thrown off. There's the ship's whistle. Big side wheel is beginning to turn. You can probably hear it, threshing the water as the ship gets underway. Now the crowd's going stark raving crazy.
This is the CBS studio in Washington on the Brazos. We have interrupted Jackson Beck because we have a report of action at the Alamo. We take you now to John Daly.
Santa Ana has begun the attack on the Alamo. The Alamo bells are sounding the alarm. The Mexican bugles are calling for the charge. We can see it all. It's like a play on a stage spread out before our eyes. The Mexican infantry, dragging escalades to scale the walls, is pouring over the little patch of ground that has separated the Alamo from the Mexican forces. They've been met with a withering fire from the Texans' rifles and small cannon. But although Santa Ana's men are falling like flies, they're still pressing forward. The ground is covered with bodies. The Mexican losses will be terrific no matter what the outcome. But no one can doubt their bravery. Some of the escalades are against the walls of the Alamo now. But as far as I can see, not a single Mexican has yet been able to scale them. The smoke and the dust of battle has settled like a pall on this bloody scene. We can hear gunfire, the shouts of officers, the moans and the screams of the wounded. It's a ghastly, horrible drama of blood and war. There seems to be some slackening of fire from within the Alamo, and Mexican troops have rallied and are storming the walls once again. They're up on the escalades. I think they've mounted the ladders and are getting inside the Alamo, but there's so much smoke and dust, it's impossible to be sure. Here come the Mexican cavalry. About 1,000 horsemen. They're charging across the field. Their sabers are glittering in the sun. Their horses setting up a terrific cloud of dust. The Alamo is calling. Our shortwave receiver is blasting a message. The Alamo is on the air.
I'm here in a little chapel, and I can see them falling over the wall and dropping into the courtyard. It's a whopping fracas, you take it from me. Over yonder way, on some kind of a scaffolding or something, Colonel Travis has set up a little cannon. He's got it aimed right smack at the courtyard. Like a broom cleans red ass. But it ain't stopping others from coming over the wall. They're coming even faster. Travis and his boys are trying to reload the cannon. And now the Mexicans have opened up. They're firing point blank at him. Travis is down. He's down, but he's still got his pistol. Look at that. He's aiming at one of the officers. Got him. Now they're headed this way. Some of the boys here have squatted down and back of the windows and doors. We ain't got time for reloading, and they're coming straight on at us. The boys have turned their rifles upside down. They ain't gonna walk in like this here was a meeting house. You're listening. This is the Alamo. We're still here, still fighting. And whatever happens out there, you keep right on fighting, understand? Reckon as how the boys could use an extra hand. Travis is dead. Boy is dead. But we ain't. Not yet. Matalo! Monday is the only!
This is John Daly. The signal from the Alamo has failed, finished. The flag of Texas is coming down from the mast. The battle is over. The Alamo has fallen. We remember the blood-red flag, the no-quarter sign which flew from Santa Ana's lines, and we wonder how many Texas survivors there are, if any. Santa Ana has promised there will be none, and Santa Ana is noted for his cruelty. He has gained the Alamo, but strictly from a military point of view, he has lost something far more precious, surprise and time. If the defenders of the Alamo had not held him here for 2 weeks, if they'd permitted him to march eastward into the heart of Texas, it's impossible to say what the consequences would have been for Texas' dreams of independence. But now, because of what these less than 200 heroes have done against the enemy's 3,000, now Texas has a fighting chance for freedom. Undoubtedly, they've won for themselves immortality. Undoubtedly, they'll never be forgotten. There will be others who will take their places. Of that you may be certain, for Texas has only just begun to fight. And at this very moment, General Sam Houston is gathering an army of volunteers, men who will soon be ready to take the field against Santa Ana, men who are even now dedicating themselves to avenging the slaughter here. Mexicans are still scaling the Alamo walls amidst the confusion of the littered battle.
San Antonio, March 6, 1836. The Alamo falls, but Texas independence is saved.
You have been listening to CBS Is There, the sixth in a special summer series of broadcasts of famous events. Next week,
the Roman Empire, August 26, 79 A.D. Mount Vesuvius erupts and destroys Pompeii. CBS Is There.
CBS Is There is produced and directed for Columbia by Robert Louis Cheon. Tonight's broadcast was written by Irv Tunick.
Democracy isn't just a system of government. It's a doctrine of mankind. It teaches that the next fellow's as good as you, whether he's white or colored, Jew or Gentile. Some people with Nazi techniques are trying to sow the seeds of hatred and prejudice in America. America's no place for it. If someone runs down a neighbor's race or religion, Remind him that he's out of joint with democracy. Help keep America democratic and strong. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.